In a few moments, I'm going to invite the next speaker on stage, and we'll be talking about how we can turn real-world objects in hi-fi 3D models with RealityCapture. So still continue on the topic, going a little bit more into details, into depth. So ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome on stage the product specialist at RealityCapture, Wallace Weinhouse. Give it up for him. Wallace.
Hey there.
Welcome. Enjoy the stage.
Cheers. Hi there. Yeah, my name's Wallace Weinhouse, and I'm a product specialist at RealityCapture. And today I'm going to talk about a feature which is a little bit hidden in RealityCapture, but hidden in plain sight. Some of you will know about it, perhaps a bit more superficially. I'm going to talk to you about the reporting system. And I know it sounds incredibly dull, but hopefully by the end of this you'll agree that it's quite a handy, powerful tool. So what might we expect from a reporting system? So these are the built-in reports in RealityCapture. And you might have used them before. And yeah, this is what you would expect from a reporting system. And you can get reports on various things, an overview of your project. You can get some GIS stuff about your component and some information about the alignment and orthos and various other stuff. So what wouldn't you expect from a reporting system? Well, you can export point clouds, models, and you can render from any camera in your scene. And I'm going to go into some other use cases which I think you'll agree are quite powerful, like conditional automation. Oh. OK, so what exactly is the reporting system? Now, it might not actually be the best name to describe it as a reporting system, and we might change that at some point, because as you'll see later, it's not really just for making reports. So here it is. Basically, it can be considered to be a template translator. And your template can be anything. And you can use those templates by using that CLI command there, export report. And then the first argument is going to be a path to your report output. And the second argument will be a path to your report template. And you can see this is one of the built-in reports. And it's a HTML template. And if you look out for the stuff with a $sign in it, that's the stuff which is part of the reporting system, and it's going to get translated. So, for instance, the $sign date and time there, and RealityCapture just translates, and when it spits out the report, it'll just have the translated bit. So all the HTML stuff stays the same, and if you look at the stuff that doesn't have a $sign in front of it, like RealityCapture, it just stays the same. So it's just going to be like a normal bit of HTML. OK, so what can you do with this? Well, the most basic thing you can imagine is build a custom report. And if you go back to those templates, you can find them in the installation folder. You can go in and edit them and then just add things you like. Now, this is where it gets quite interesting. Conditional automation. So you can tailor your scripts now for your specific workflows and adapt in the way a human would. So what I'm saying by that is sometimes you will do the same thing in specific situations when you're working in RealityCapture. So you'll be like, if this is the state of my project, then I always do this. And obviously that's a great way to automate. And the other thing is custom export. So you can do a bit of both. And if any of you are familiar with our ColMap exporter, that was actually built using the reporting system. And if you're familiar with our mobile application, RealityScan, quite a lot of that is also built with the reporting system. So it's super powerful. So what I'm trying to say is, don't wait for us to build a feature for you. You might be able to actually build it yourself, because this is a really, really powerful way of scripting. So what kind of formats are possible? I mean, I've given some examples here, but basically it is anything, really. So I've got Python there and a batch. And you can see, I mean, for example, with the batch script there, if you use these set commands, that can just be run as a bat after it's been translated, and you'll get those variables there, which you can then use in CLI. And this is a fun one here, which is going to be in one of my examples here, where you can actually create a PLY point cloud. And you can see, oh, actually, I'll get into more details with that later. Okay, so what kind of data can we get from RealityCapture? So these are the basics: camera data, location, orientation, intrinsics, model data, geometry. You can get like the number of triangles and stuff like that, and anything about the texture, like how many textures and what detail they're in, orthos, and anything you can see in the GUI, basically. So I'm going to do some examples now, and I'm not saying like this is actually what you should do with it, but it's just going to give you an idea, because the way to actually use this is to specifically tailor it to your needs and what you do on a daily basis, because it's going to be very, very unique. So my first example is going to be quite similar to our start button, but including some conditions. So we'll align, but only if we have a certain number of cameras, and we'll mesh, but only if a certain percentage of cameras have aligned. And you can imagine that's quite useful, because I can imagine that some of you here have probably got your computers chugging away at home whilst you're sitting here, and if only half your cameras aligned, it's a bit of a waste of time meshing it. So, you know, your script could then move on to the next project and actually mesh something which is going to give you a model which is of value at the end. And we're going to have no condition for texturing. In fact, I'm just going to miss that bit out. And to do this, we're going to use the sequencer. I'm going to explain what that is in a sec. And we're going to use RCcmd, which I'll also explain in a second. It's RealityCapture's own scripting language. Okay, so what is RCcmd? RCcmd is RealityCapture's own scripting language, and you can run the scripts by dragging and dropping them into RealityCapture, or you can use this command here. And normally we don't disclose anything in our roadmap, but today, this isn't the biggest feature in our next release, but I can tell you that in the next release, RCcmds will translate anything which uses anything from the reporting system instantly. It's not something you couldn't do before, but it's going to be a lot easier now. Before, you'd have to make a template of an RCcmd and then translate it, essentially, in the method that I showed you before. But now it'll instantly be translated. So what is the sequencer? If you're not familiar with RealityCapture, this is the UI, not the most beautiful in the world. And you can make a console window here, and you can actually write commands straight in. So you just write in whatever commands you like, and then it will run them. But the other thing you can do is you can press that button there, that plus button, and then you can save all the commands in your sequence, and it will actually put your own custom button in the GUI there. This command here, exec RCcmd, which is how we run an RCcmd, and then you just put a path to it, and that's the one actually we're going to be using in our example. So it's just got a path to masterstart.rccmd, which we'll have a look at now. So here is my master start RCcmd, and it's not very sophisticated. All it does is it has 3 more exec RCcmd commands with the paths to those RCcmds. So let's have a look at this one using the reporting system. So here's an RCcmd, and you can see if you're familiar with our normal CLI commands, they're quite basic. So to align, it is just -align. Everything else is the reporting system. So it's very simple. If there's more than 50 images in your project, then it'll align. I can't imagine anybody using that, but I just wanted to make a very simple example to start with. And so next we have the mesh start. Now this is the one which is actually quite useful. And we have these 2 variables here. We've got component camera count divided by image count is greater than or equal to 0.9. So it's only going to mesh if 90% of your cameras are aligned. Okay, so I had to crowbar Gaussian splats into here somehow because they're all the rage these days. So I'm going to show you an example of how to make a Gaussian splat. That is not just a photo, that is a Gaussian splat. I probably should have done a bit of video to demonstrate that it is. That's an orchid from my kitchen in front of my computer monitor. So in Unreal Engine. Okay, so what files do we need for a splat? We need an alignment. We're not going to be using a reporting system there. It's just a regular CLI export. And the PLY point cloud, which I showed you earlier. And in this case, I've got a Python script which actually hard masks the RealityCapture masks onto the original images. So they're baked in there. So this is the PLY thing, which I thought was fun. If you're familiar with splats, you'll know that actually the longer you train, the less relevant your sparse point cloud is. But I figured, hey, why not actually seed those splats exactly where you actually want the object? So in the script, it just has a normal simplify command, and then we can use this function here from the reporting system, iterate mesh vertices, and it will just go through all of the vertices and save their positions in the PLY format, which we can have a look at in a second. So here is my, my report for the PLY exporter. And you can see the header. Basically, I just, well, let's have a look. Which one's the actual final one? I just copied. I actually exported our sparse point cloud PLY and just copied the header straight out of it. And then you can see where the reporting system is being used here. So in element vertex there, we have to specify which function set we're using. And then we use export models. And you can see I've got an if condition there as well to make sure the model's called forSplat. So earlier in the script, I renamed the model forSplat because that export model function is an iterator. So it's actually going to iterate through all of your models. And you don't particularly want to have all the vertices listed for every single model there. You just want it for the one that you actually want. And again, at the bottom here, we have a function to actually list those vertices there. And what we have here is, in iterate mesh vertices, we have the X, the Y, and the Z. And we have the three colors RGB. And you might notice that actually it's being written in binary here. So this is a binary PLY. And we can specify the format here. So if you look on the X, we have, after the colon, we've got B for binary, and then F for float. And so our X, Y, and Z are binary floats. And our colors are, C is for unsigned characters, so they're bytes. So again, we've got binary, byte, byte, byte. And it just lists it. And that's what a PLY is. And there's a QR code at the end which goes to a tutorial I have which shows you how to do the ASCII version of this, which is easier to have a look because you can actually see all of the data written below. But if you want to do it in binary, that's how you do it. OK, so let's have a look at the whole pipeline. So we make a button in the GUI, how I showed you earlier with the sequencer, and that's going to execute two RCcmDs. One is splat RCcmD, and one is Python masker RCcmD. And the splat one will simplify, export alignment, export the masks from the mesh model, by the way, which makes these masks here, and export the point cloud, which was the PLY exporter we showed earlier. And the Python masker one actually launches a batch which uses shell execute to launch a batch, which then in turn launches the Python, which will just multiply that image by that image and give you your masked image at the end. So here it is in action. There's my masked inputs, and there is my splat being seeded by the dense mesh, not the sparse mesh. OK, so in summary, what can you do with the reporting system? You can make a report template in any file format. you can add any information from your project to that file. RCcmd will soon use the entire reporting system, and you can tailor automation to your specific workflows. And that's everything. And that QR code there will link to my tutorial on the reporting system. There's 2 parts to it. So yeah, if you want to reproduce this, then check it out.
Let's give it up for Wallace. Wallace, thank you so much for guiding us through. Really convenient that you put up the QR code for the tutorial for people. I saw a lot of people scanning that, which is fantastic. Quick question, we've got a few that came through. So the first one, do you have any tutorials on how to use your programming language? Was that the one on the QR code?
RCcmd?
I think so, yeah.
No, are we talking about the reporting? I don't know. I think the programming language is RCcmd, but yeah, there's many on CLI, and basically it's a simplified version of CLI. So in CLI, you have to have a path to your RealityCapture installation, but with RCcmd, you simply just write out your commands. And if you look in our help, there's like extensive like documentation of all of our commands. If you just type in CLI into help and then go to list all commands, then you'll find all of the commands there.
Perfect, awesome stuff. Let's take the remaining 2, which are really short. Will your program remain free in the future?
Oof, I can't answer questions like that, but I would have thought so.
Okay.
I can only guess. I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Okay, but thank you so much for being honest. It's totally okay. Let's take one last question. Is there a limit for the length of the custom script/code in RealityCapture? Not
that I know of. So I imagine, yeah, I don't know of one, but I haven't tested that. So I hate saying yes to questions like that, but maybe if you wrote like 1 million lines of code, it would probably explode.
Thank you so much for your honesty. Let's give it up for Wallace one more time, ladies and gentlemen. Cool.